Hey everybody, so glad you guys decided to come in and watch. Sucks that we can't be there in person, but my name is Dylan Williams from University of Alabama. With me today is a couple of my former students, Jessica Murphy, who is now over at the University of Louisville, and Joanne Hawley, who is our Career Services Director over here at the University of Alabama. They helped me with this project, which is a content analysis on our journal, the Journal of Issues in Intercollegiate Athletics, really since its inception to 2 years ago, 2019. So just to kind of give a brief overview what GIA is. The journal's mission is ultimately to focus on interdisciplinary and inter-university college sport research for academics, practitioners, and the general public. Since 2008, it's published over 200 manuscripts. Majority of those with our annual issues that have come out since between that time frame. We've also had 3 special issues in 2009, 2013, and 2017. The journal also encourages presentation, people submitting their studies to CSRI itself, and as it supports the Institute's overall goals of public awareness, being a forum for open discussion, building a relationship to acquire funding, really generating awareness in general for CSRI, and educating the general public on all various college sport issues. Okay. Now, what a content analysis in general, what it does for a discipline is really establishing credibility. Ultimately, there's a goal to build on the quantity and quality of scholarly activity, being essential to establish our credibility as a field or as a discipline within the general academic landscape. With our scholarly articles, ultimately produce knowledge that is representative of the field, which consists of fundamental information that's possessed by all of us throughout the discipline. And our academic journals ultimately build and communicate information, creating conversations among scholars, facilitating scholarship relationships, and offer current practical and theoretical implications within a discipline. Okay. Now, you could argue that our ontology is really incomplete, and the way we can prove that is really assessing our academic journals. And ultimately what these assessments do is identify the strengths and weaknesses of our journals and articles, identify what may be topic oversaturation, as well as subjects that researchers that we are just honestly not studying. Pitts also noted that there is a need for assessment in general in her statement that said that an assessment or content analysis that produces information needed for editors of journals, authors of textbooks, researchers, and others who are responsible for or interested in building an accurate and appropriate body of knowledge for the field. Okay. So ultimately what it does, it encourages scholars to really study things that that we really don't kind of cover or really have been that are not oversaturated, if you will. Articles in itself should provide an up-to-date theoretical construct and practical application to assure relevance. And that's kind of important for sport management in general, because our field and really our journals have grown between 95 and 140 journals. That number is kind of different based on the NASM count, which is around 95, compared to Shapiro and Pitts, who were more liberal with the what constitutes a sport management journal. So we do have a wide range of where our articles are going. The problem, though, is that few of our journals have really been critically examined within a content analysis. Some of the big ones you can kind of think of would be the Journal of Sport Management, European Sport Management Quarterly, Sport Marketing Quarterly. Some of those have been examined, and what's also kind of important why we should analyze it for GIA is that college sport is usually one of the business domains that is constantly researched within our journals. And there being a growth of college sport-based focus or college sport-focused journals, it's important now that with GIA having 10 years of growth and 10 years of existence that we kind of start that analysis now. So that's ultimately what the purpose of this project was. It was to examine GIA content to reveal the strengths, weaknesses, and areas where the journal can improve. Ultimately, we sought to reveal the general state of college sport-focused research, authorship attributes, research methodology use, and underrepresented topics, hopefully to provide researchers, editorial board, and scholarly organizations a general concept in planning for future research and addressing gaps within the current body of knowledge, and ultimately really to improve GIA's quality for future submissions.
All right, so our methodological approach for completing this study was a content analysis, which provides a systematic and replicable research approach so that this exact procedure could be completed in the future to examine another decade of GIA publications. It also was feasible for the research team to compress all of GIA's 206 articles into something that was tangible and understandable that we could extract themes and patterns from. So the goal of the content analysis was to provide knowledge and understanding of the phenomenon under study, which is the journal itself. So the steps for completing the content analysis are as follows. First, select a representative content sample. So that's a lifetime of GIA. And then train coders to use developed categories, which we'll discuss. Assess coder reliability within the categories, and then analyze the data to identify those themes and patterns so that we can say for certain if GIA is growing and outline kind of the trajectory for the journal in the future. So the unit of analysis was the journal itself. Again, the lifetime of GIA, all of the peer-reviewed published articles from 2008 to 2019, bringing that total to 206 articles. The coding procedures, so first, each researcher on the team independently coded all 206 articles. This was great because each individual researcher was able to use their own expertise because the research team is comfortable examining college sport content due to our positions as sport management researchers and then also in the field of intercollegiate athletics. Finally, Cohen's Kappa was used to check coding reliability and consistency. So again, each researcher independently coded. This helped to triangulate some of those codes. So then breaking down the total body of articles and kind of what we pulled out and what we were looking for within the content rather of this analysis. First category was authorship. So each individual article, the number of authors was notated, as well as the gender of the lead author and the Carnegie classification of the lead author's institution, and that will be discussed in the findings section. Also editorial positions, and those are measured demographically as well. So the number of editorial authors, their gender and type of editorial position, and then descriptive analysis. So what year each article was published, how long they were in terms of pages, the research category, whether qualitative, quantitative, and mixed, and then those were each unpacked further into specific methodologies. Then the subject area of each article was coded to match the Commission on Sport Management Accreditation's content areas. This helped the research team pair GIA articles to sport management curriculum, sport management educational categories. So while each article had its own individual focus, the research team, again, independently coded every article into one of COSMA's core content areas. And then focusing more on the sports side. So each article was then also categorized into a specific sport industry segment. And these are less of educational components, but more industry or career-oriented categories. And then regarding each sport or each level of competition, the association and division focus of every article is also notated, all the way from general NCAA to specific divisions, NAIA or other if none were listed. And then a gender focus, so more on the focus of which sport the article was written about. So whether that was a men's sport or a men's sport business, women's, or other neutral or listed none.
Okay, so of the scholarly articles that were published in GIA, we reviewed articles that cover the time frame of 2008 to 2019. And so here, what you'll see is the number of pages of regular articles as opposed to special issue articles, as well as the number of pages and the average pages of each article. According to Harzing's Publish or Perish, GIA articles are cited 3,271 times, averaging at 15.96 citations per article. So here we actually have this, the content area that was covered in the articles that we reviewed, the number of articles for each category, as well as their percentages. And if you were to look at the sports industry segment, we have those numbers as well as the percentages as well. We also recorded the divisions that we've covered. whether it would be regular Division I all the way to Division II or III, and we recorded the numbers for the articles that covered multiple divisions. And then if you look at the numbers for the sports that were covered, you'll see the numbers and the percentages as well, with the highest one being they were focused not just on one sport. They were focused on multiple or a different category. For the research that we've actually analyzed, so you see the quantitative and qualitative number of articles and their percentages, and those that we categorized as mixed methods. For quantitative, we actually have several different types that we've actually highlighted as we review the articles following the 4 different types of qualitative methods that were used in the articles. And then so for annual production, GIA actually produces 17.2 articles per year, and we actually match that up with the other big 4 sport management publishing companies. For the author, we had 65.6% male and 34.4% female. And we actually compared those numbers to the other sport management journals. And then for editorial board, 80% of the current editorial board is male. Only 1 woman has served as co-editor in the journal's lifetime.
Yeah. So I guess kind of pick back up on that. GIA is actually doing a fairly good job as far as being consistent with, say, ESMQ, the European Sport Management Quarterly, SMQ, Sport Market Quarterly, and outperforming JSM, Journal of Sport Management, which is probably one of our bigger journals in the field, essentially, but doing fairly well compared to that. And of course, I'm a law person myself. I want to compare it to JLAS. JLAS is one of the lower ones out there. And you kind of see, again, the gender standpoint, we're actually doing fairly consistent with the other big journals in the field as well. So the editorial board is actually kind of curious to me when that came up, the fact that, majority of our board is male, and we've only had 1 woman co-editor. So I guess that's one thing to kind of consider that going forward, if we want to expand into different areas that we're not covering, which we'll talk about in a second, it's pretty important to kind of maybe get more of a female emphasis on the editorial board. Okay. Now, other factor kind of comes up is, and we talked about with the stats word for citations, but GIA's 5-year impact factor, which was calculated by Dr. Seifert, was 2.37. In comparison to the other journals out there, you see ESMQ, JSM, Sport Management Review, Communication of Sport, International Journal of Sport Marketing and Sponsorship, and Journal of Sport Economics, ultimately about the same, roughly doing fairly well in comparison. So that's been a good thing over the last a few years with the content that's been produced and getting cited a lot. In terms of author affiliation, roughly about 70% of the lead authors and roughly about 75% of the second authors have been associated with an R1 and R2 institution. Now, this is kind of important is because those scholars who are part of an R1 and R2 institution, they tend to submit more publications to journals that have good impact factors due to the high quality and impact within the field. So we as an editorial board, we as editors, and we as a journal actually been doing a very good job in terms of getting quality content and getting it published. But what's also interesting is that we've seen a strong number of submissions from those that are considered lower level Carnegie classifications, basically your master's level 1, master's level 2, or really just any unaffiliated. So you kind of see that roughly about 30% as a lead author come from one of these smaller institutions, 26.2 second authors come from that same as well. So again, we're not just hitting on those are just an R1, R2s, but we are getting from lower levels, which I think is actually kind of cool for our journal. Okay. From a content area, and Joe kind of hit on the areas, if you will, 80% of the articles mainly focus on social context, which is social issues, which are very important in college sports, management, organizational behavior, education, or marketing. That's been kind of similar to what JSM and ESMQ do. Okay, we should really kind of increase efforts to encourage scholarships in the neglected areas and the emerging areas within our discipline. Okay, from the industry standpoint, roughly 50% of our articles only really cover coaching and administrative issues as well as participant sport. Now, there's not a problem with that. In my opinion, those are 2 main areas for college sport to kind of consider, but it does seem like we focus a lot on those 2 areas as opposed to other ones. Okay, and then from a gender focused standpoint, and just kind of clarify this, it really is talking about articles that maybe focus on, let's say, football or focus on men's basketball as opposed to women's basketball, or another, like say if it was academic issues on the men's team. Most of the articles we've seen, though, it's actually kind of interesting that they don't really have a gender focus. It is mainly about, let's say, just a team or just a department, if you will, with no real focus toward one or the other. But those that have a focus tend to go toward men's athletics than women's athletics. Okay, so again, that's another item that was kind of eye-opening, for a sense, is that we should probably be focused more, starting to get more focused on women's athletics just as much as we do men's athletics. Okay, so to really kind of help with this is that there are a lot of underrepresented areas to kind of consider. Okay, we should really kind of explore the non-revenue generating collegiate sports to allow for a deeper understanding. Okay, what we kind of saw with the main sports that get studied is football. Okay, and that's totally understandable because that is a revenue generating sport. Same thing with men's basketball. It's a revenue generating sport, so it's common that those would be the ones to go after that. However, we should probably start to apply certain subjects, certain theories to the underrepresented side, just to kind of see if it does match up. Now, the problem with that, though, is it creates a counterbalance, if you will, about citation potential. The reason why we probably do research on football or men's basketball is because it will get cited more than, say, something on water polo, just for example. Okay, so you kind of have to counterbalance those two out in regards to the underrepresented areas. How exactly we can, explore these for a deeper understanding, but also keep in mind the citation potential for like a special issue if we were to do it. Furthermore, GIA, in terms of research methodologies, there actually is a healthy balance between quantitative and qualitative, okay? That matches up with the other journals out there. So we should continue to have that healthy balance and be open and inclusive of various research methodologies. What we do recommend, though, is that there should be some promotion of more qualitative or mixed methods emphasis to encourage more submissions in that domain. Perhaps maybe like one of the subjects that had the least amount of submissions, in fact, I believe there's only one, was sport economics. And that's a big issue in college sport in of itself. There's so many economic issues dealing with college sports that maybe, just maybe, we should kind of give its due in terms of creating a special issue and seeing what can be come up with sport from a sport economic standpoint to generate more submissions in that subject area. Okay. Now, from the intent of GIA itself, it's meant to serve as a research consortium for college sport researchers across the United States. And we feel the journal has met and is continuing to achieve this goal. It's been cited by various journals in a variety of fields, and it serves a vital role for researchers and practitioners. But the truth is that more needs to be done, okay? We need to continue to attract manuscripts from highly cited authors, okay? Not just necessarily college sport researchers, but again, sport economists, law school individuals, different areas that we're not exactly studying. We need to keep attracting those individuals. What also may help would be to enlist some reviewers that provide good and timely editorial work. Again, as someone who serves on the editorial board, I think we do a very good job in terms of getting reviews back to scholars. I believe our time frame is 60 days. We need to continue to kind of do that, but also keep enlisting reviewers who will continue that process. And then lastly, ultimately, really just kind of promoting relevant and timely papers published in the journal. Again, this may be a social media presence, this may be posting online, but we need to continue that work as well. I think we've done a fairly good job of that, and you should keep doing that going forward. Now, some of the improvements that we kind of identified, one would be encouraging submissions on underrepresented subjects like communication and media, sport economics, like I mentioned before, and sport law. There is a very big plethora, I believe, of research available in this industry. My thought process would be there's always legal issues centered on coaches. That's a way of combining what is a popular subject industry element with something that is underrepresented. Things like that can easily be explored, and you can kind of combine, mix and match what actually could work in that sense. Other areas we can do is inviting future editors and editorial board members who possess interest in these underrepresented areas. So again, kind of picking on myself, I am a accounting, finance person, also have a little bit of law interest. So there aren't many of me in the field in general. So there's always a constant need to get people who have interests that are in these underrepresented areas, so that way we can actually grow the field and kind of see what is out there. Again, something like finance, accounting, economics, those things it's going to be very rare in our journal, but it's ultimately important to kind of help that grow by getting people who are interested in that area. We'd also kind of consider soliciting review articles on particular topics within collegiate sport to attract readers and citations. This is from Garfield. essentially trying to create review articles within the areas. And again, there is a lot of social context that kind of goes on with college sports. So it'd be really helpful to have something that's a review of the different articles out there about college sports in that sense. That way we can attract people to our journal and get more citation in that sense. And then also, this is something that we didn't really have a chance to really look at and see in whether or not CSRI presenters are actually publishing the journal. This is something to kind of do further, but maybe there's a need to have a conference proceedings issue for presenters who feel a full manuscript cannot be created. Again, I can kind of speak, to this one personally that, there's been one presentation that I've done at CSRI that I just felt like was great for a poster, great for a presentation, but putting in a full manuscript for it may not have been the greatest thing. Instead, probably would be much better if like a short case study or again, something like conference proceedings would be, really great there. Okay. Now, just from a limitation standpoint, obviously the findings from the study are limited to everything related to the methodology itself, the content analysis, and GIA. But future research can actually kind of do a lot in terms of, say, a citation analysis. We can determine like what types of articles are referenced and where are they cited by. So is this getting cited in JSM? Is this getting cited in ESMQ? Is it getting cited outside of sport management in general? Okay, what is the popularity of the articles being cited? We can do a presentation analysis, kind of using the same methodology, but really analyzing the different trends and issues regarding to presentations at CSRI over its lifetime. We can also look at the collaboration twins. Quatman and Chowdhury ultimately created a model of a social network to help determine collaboration trends among college sport researchers. Okay, so we kind of see like who's been really kind of collaborating with who in regards to what subjects. And then finally, there's other sport management journals that need to get reviewed as well. From the college sport rate context, obviously our competitor would be the Journal of Intercollegiate Sport. But there's other articles out there, other journals out there that can be analyzed the same way as we kind of grow in regards to the field in and of itself. So, but that is ultimately what we got here, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The article, like, it was kind of fun, is our article is actually published in GIA right now. So we happen to be one of those articles that, one of those presentations that were, canceled because of COVID. But you actually can check out our article right now. It is available on the website. So please do that. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. Okay. Miss you guys. Hopefully we'll be back next year in Columbia. So have a good one.